apparently not as good as you. You have a much better background than what I have right now.
Well, I mean, that's when we were talking about setting this up, this is what I wanted to paint the portrait of because honestly, I mean, look, this is why we live in Southern California. We live in Southern California, all this stuff, and I'm going to turn my phone real quick. And usually when I come here, I'm doing field drills here. I'm usually doing like field sprint drills here, but they got the sprinklers on today.
Okay.
So this is one of the cool parks here in San Diego, where literally if you look that direction, you got an ocean view. And if you look this direction here over my shoulders, you got a mountain view. So everything that Southern California has to offer. Now we pay for it. Don't get me wrong. We pay for living here, but I mean that's why many of us do it, because you can be outside and turn this area into your outdoor gym most weeks, most days of the year.
In fact, you're making me want to move from the Midwest out to the West Coast now. Let's go ahead and jump in. Kind of started to give a little bit of introduction when people started jumping on. So again, welcome everyone to watching and everyone for joining our conversation today. I'm excited, like you've already seen. We're going to talk to Pete McCall today. And for a little bit of background, and now Pete shouldn't be a stranger to anyone really in the human kinetics audience. He's made a name for himself in the fitness industry. He's currently the director of education for EOS Fitness. He's a strength coach, a fitness educator, helping both individuals, in their own fitness journey, as well as helping educate personal trainers around the world to be better at what they do. So, as a lot of you guys know, he is the author of 3 books now with Human Kinetics. I have them right here. We have Smarter Workouts. He went into Ageless Intensity, and his most recent one right here, Smarter Recovery. So I think in our conversation, we're going to touch on a little bit of all of those, I think. So again, thank you so much, Pete. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your morning. I know you have some appointments, but I guess for a little more context to get started, can you give the listeners a little more of your background and kind of like how you went through your journey to get to this point now?
Well, no, I appreciate that. Thank you, man. And thank you for everybody joining us, because it's really, I was a personal trainer. I mean, I still consider myself a personal trainer. I just happen now in my job, I kind of lead a team, or I really look at it as I support a team of about 1,100 personal trainers now. We have 85, we just opened our 85th gym in Houston, I think. But EOS Fitness is, we're rapidly growing. And we're the type of place that I wanted to, if I were a 30-year-old trainer in the middle of my career, it's the type of place where I'd want to be training. Which is really what I try to do as a director of education, is try to create an opportunity for our trainers to really thrive. But I came up as a personal trainer and strength coach. My background is rugby. That's why I'm at this park. We'll play rugby touch here on the weekends, and then I'll come here for training. I don't play as much anymore. I try to stay in old boy shape. Anybody out there who's played competitive rugby, you know that as an old boy, and I'm in my 50s now, I'm 51 years old. But as an old boy, you're always about 8 weeks away from being match fit. That's always that. I mean, that's the way I've always maintained my fitness, even though I have not played competitive rugby for more than 15 years. It's that mindset of once you've been in the sport, especially I played front row. I was in the front row of the scrum, so I was a hooker and a prop. And it's just, you get a mindset of work rate. The whole ethos of rugby is you're trying to outwork your opponent. I mean, obviously you have tactics and you have strategy, but the fitter team, the team that has the highest fitness, the highest level of fitness, will win, because you have the fitness and you have the gas in the tank in the 80th minute. So as I was getting into fitness as a personal trainer, I was really trying to study. I was trying to study work rate. I was trying to study performance, and really trying to understand that for my clients. Even though I worked with a lot of Gen Pop clients, I still wanted to train them the same way that elite athletes trained. And so that's what I tried to do 20 years ago, was I tried to study what are the top strength coaches doing, and then how do I apply that to my average client? And I was in DC, I was working with attorneys, I was working with, professionals of all sorts, but it's like, why not train them the same as elite professionals? And so that's always been my approach to training, is even though I might have a client that goes into an office every day, I still want to train them like they're going to be out on the rugby pitch, playing for a cup on the weekends.
I think that goes into some of the things that I wanted to ask you about too, is maybe we can go ahead and jump to that part, is different kinds of stress that affect your life. They can all accumulate regardless of what type of stress it is. And that's really, I guess, makes recovery even more important regardless of where you're at in your life.
Well, I'm smiling, man, because that really was like the light bulb went off. Like when I realized that as a trainer, as a young trainer, that like everything we do is stress management.
Yeah.
I mean, because when you look at it, right, exercise is physical stress. When we're working out, we're applying physical stress to the tissues. We're applying physical stress to the muscles, to the different systems of the body. And the body responds by those systems becoming stronger. But what we have to realize as trainers and coaches is that if our athlete or if our client has too much stress going on in their life here, the stress that we apply in the gym isn't really going to have that much of an impact. So one of the things that I started realizing a number of years ago, actually when I was working at the American Council on Exercise, is that in fitness, we're doing a fabulous job of giving people high intensity workouts, but we weren't telling people what to do afterwards. You know, I mean, think about it, like 10, 12 years ago, when CrossFit started blowing up and high intensity workouts started becoming all the rage, great. And we know that high intensity workout provide plenty of benefits, but nobody was talking about what to do after you got done training. And so you would have these coaches pushing their athletes, pushing their clients into the state of overtraining. Anyway, that's when I really started paying attention to recovery. That was about maybe 10, 12 years ago.
And I know, so you mentioned overtraining, and I know there's a section specifically in the book about overtraining. Now, I think when you look at overtraining on its surface, people probably usually think about, you know, athletes training excessively, maybe athletes, you know, competing year round, never giving their bodies a chance to rest. But to your point, I guess we could consider, like, as adults who are non-competitive, we are essentially overtraining because we have constant stress in our lives.
Well, no, that's just it. I mean, when you look at it, if you take the average gym goer, and I've worked in commercial fitness for most of my 25 years in the industry, and it's what we see in a commercial gym. You have somebody comes in and does a high intensity, maybe they do a cycling workout on a Monday. They come back and they do maybe a high intensity weight workout on a Tuesday. Maybe they do another workout, they do a HIIT class on a Wednesday. Well, those are 3 high intensity workout days in a row, and they're being taught by different instructors, they're seeing different people. So nobody's really putting it together to say, hey, all this stress adds up. And if you got budget season at work, like I know, like right now we're recording this at the end of October, and a lot of companies that are on a January 1 fiscal, they're finishing their budgets right now. And one of the things I always ask clients are, what's your busiest time of year? Because I look at, like, overtraining is just an accumulation of stress, right? We start getting an accumulation of stress. At some point, there's going to be a breaking point. So one of the things I like to ask clients, when's your busiest time? Because right now, like if I have clients going in budget season right now, and they're finalizing their budgets, they're having extra meetings, well, that's a higher stress load at work. So what I want to do is with my training, I'm going to down regulate my exercise for a couple of weeks for my clients, because while their stress load goes up at work, I'm going to mitigate and reduce the stress load from the gym. That way there's a good balance of stress overall, and they're not getting too much of any one category. And that type of thing, what I always try to point out to people in our industry is that's how you go from being a trainer. The way I look at it as a trainer, give somebody a workout for a day. You want to give somebody a great workout? Great, you're a trainer. But if you think long term, if you think about how to design a program for weeks, months, even years on end, like if you're thinking a 2 or 3 year periodization cycle, now you're a coach. Now you're taking responsibility for the future of your client and for really putting your client on a program for success. But that's how I would define the difference between a trainer and a coach. Is a trainer's great at designing a workout. A coach is phenomenal designing a long-term program that includes recovery.
I'm glad you mentioned balance right there, because I think that's something that we're all looking for. And even if, like you speaking to the listeners too, if you haven't said it yourself, you've heard someone else mention trying to find balance in your life, trying to find balance between work and everyday life, trying to find balance between those, I guess, perceived negative stressors and relaxation and recovery. Now, I know that might look different from person to person, but I know that you said specifically, like, you like to try to find balance even within your workouts. You like to work out in the gym, you know, a few days a week. You like to get outside a little bit. Is that one of the ways that you're talking about finding balance too, and trying to build it?
Yeah, no, balance. Yeah, that's a great question, man. And because I think a lot of people, look, we know fitness is popular, and people realize that working out and exercise should be a part of their daily routine. But what they also need to realize is that, hey, sometimes you get out of the gym. And that's one of the reasons why I want to do this conversation out here, is because some of my favorite workouts are not really that hard workouts. honestly. And it's like, but if you think about it, if you had a crushing day in the gym yesterday, if you crushed it, if you hit the weights and you did what you're supposed to, your client did what they're supposed to, today's not a day to really stress the system. Today should be a day for a good 20 or 30-minute walk. And that really is becoming, as I look at it, especially as I age into my 50s right now, I still get after it hard 2 or 3 days a week. But any hard day is now followed by an active recovery day where walking and mobility exercises become the key factor that day. And that really is, if once you understand like the stress management and how to like apply exercise stress and how to mitigate that with recovery, that opens up the world for how you approach your clients and then how you give your clients recommendations. Because look, if you're my client, man, I'm not going to tell you take the day off. And I'm going to say, hey, yesterday was a really hard workout. So if yesterday or today was a 9 or a 10, tomorrow should be a 6 or a 7 in terms of intensity. Meaning I want you to sweat, but I don't necessarily want to get you out of breath. And that way you keep somebody moving for the long term, because I think the message that sometimes we give mistakenly is that recovery means rest. No. Recovery doesn't mean rest. Recovery just means you take the stress level down a little bit, but you still keep the body moving.
I think when I was kind of getting into the industry, one of the analogies that I still like is, checking the bath water. How full is your bathtub in terms of stress? And that's the analogy. Always make sure that your stress level or the water level in that bathtub isn't getting too high. So I guess to your point, people looked at exercise and fitness as I have to go. I have to get in a tough workout all the time. And like you said, maybe you don't need that one day. Maybe you need to get outside. Maybe even that's just enjoying some fresh air like you are right now, and getting inside or outside and letting some of those stressors come down a little bit.
Well, and I think a lot of trainers out there will recognize this and can associate with this, right? Because one of the things about the clients, when people hire us as trainers, they're usually very successful. They're driven. They're type A people. They're type A personalities because they want to succeed. And I think every trainer out there will agree with me that sometimes the hardest trainers to work with, or the hardest clients to work with, the hardest clients to train, are those type A people who don't like to take an off day. Those are the ones that say, look, I know you go 100%. I know you've achieved this, and this in your personal and professional life. Congratulations. However, we still have to respect physiology. And if I let you beat yourself up this many days in a row, you will get injured or you will be overtrained and it will derail your program. That, I think everybody out there can agree, is the hardest conversation sometimes to have is with that type A really hard driver and saying, no, your body needs easier workouts. You don't need to crush yourself. You don't need to hurt yourself with every workout. You just need to mitigate and balance that out. I think everybody out there can agree that those are the hardest clients to deal with sometimes.
Absolutely. And I know you've been in the industry for a while. And I mean, you just lived through your own journey, as a rugby player, progressing from there. So I guess some personal examples, like how have your workouts and recovery changed throughout your life and career? I know you wrote Ageless Intensity specifically for that reason, to help, slow the aging process. So I guess in terms of all of that, how have some of your workouts and recovery had to change over the years?
No, and I appreciate that, because a lot of us struggle with that, right? As the clock turns from your 20s to your 30s, or your 30s to your 40s, or now last year I joined the 50-year-old club. You do have to recognize that your body does adjust. Like, whereas 20-something years ago, and I see one of my old friends, Neil Mallison, just joined. Back when Neil and I were trainers, 20-something years ago in DC together, we would probably do 90-minute to 2-hour workouts. If you had time off between clients, you would do a 90-minute workout, and your workout would fit. I mean, you would crush yourself. Now, though, what I've learned over the years and how I apply the science is, 15, maybe 20 minutes for a warm up, because I found now, and this happened in my 40s, I need to warm up a lot longer if I'm going to be doing a hard workout. So it might be a 15, 20-minute workout, 15, 20-minute warm up, only about a 20 or 25-minute workout. I mean, really only going hard for 20 or 25 minutes, and then a little bit of a cool down. Because really, if I'm in the gym, if I'm working out for longer than 55 minutes, I've done something wrong or I've gotten distracted. But I really try to keep my workouts short, sweet, and intense 2 or 3 days a week. And then that way, the other days I'm just not moving at the same level of intensity.
So you mentioned kind of getting outside of the gym every now and then, whether that's just to enjoy the outdoors, maybe get out from under those lights in the gym a little bit. I think, and hopefully you'll kind of see the correlation here. I used the statistic a few weeks ago that only 29.4% of people 35 to 49 and 21.6% of people aged 50 to 64 actually meet the recommended physical activity guidelines. Now, so the way I'm thinking of this in terms of this conversation is sometimes I think that maybe people put too much stress on their workout and try to make it too difficult, overcomplicate what they're trying to do. So in terms of that, like, how can you kind of simplify that for people? Again, you wrote Smarter Workouts to kind of simplify that process too. But how can you help, make it easier for people to just stay active and just get in a little bit of work, like you mentioned?
Well, I love that question, man, because I think it all starts out. I'm going to go back to Stephen Covey,
Okay.
Right? The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It all starts with beginning with the end in mind. Where do you want to go? Right? And it really is, look, everybody who exercises, nobody goes into the gym and says, I want to look worse today. Right? Everybody who exercises, everybody who goes to the gym has one common denominator as their goal. And I think everybody out there could agree. We all want to look better naked. Right? I mean, come on, it doesn't matter. Yeah. No matter if you're 100 pounds, 200 pounds overweight or whatever, if you're a triathlete, everybody wants to look better naked when they train. So what's that mean when we train? When we exercise, we just got to be smart about how we do that. We got to be smart about how we balance that. So we can train hard to get the results we want, but you also have to be realistic about the amount of time that you have to put in. So if you can spend 2 hours a day doing meal prep, if you can spend 2 hours a day exercising, meal prep, planning, and doing all the work it takes, by all means, train to be a bodybuilder or a figure athlete, right? But for most people out there, I think most people don't realize that all you need is 30 to 40 minutes of activity on a daily basis. And that's why what I try to do is I set the definition of fitness, and this is what I try to meet in all 3 of the books I wrote, is my definition of fitness is having the ability to do what you want to do when you want to do it. So I'll say that again. Fitness is having the ability to do what you want to do when you want to do it. That's what I try to coach to, right? I'm not concerned about aesthetics, right? If you want, obviously, if you're working on your fitness level and if you're paying attention to your nutrition, aesthetics will follow. But I'm more concerned about helping a client be able to hike that mountain or mountain bike that mountain, because that's a performance metric that we can measure. And so really, and I think as we look at exercise, we need to say, all right, what's our goal? And if your goal is to look shredded, if your goal is to, be a figure competitor, by all means. But if your goal is just to exercise to be healthy, if your goal is to exercise to extend your lifespan by 5, 10, or 20 years, and according to the data, then that's why I wrote Ageless Intensity, exercise is the key component to longevity. If we really want to understand how to promote our lifespan, that's where exercise and high intensity training is a key component of that. And that's why I wrote Ageless Intensity. But really, it's just taking that meaningful approach to exercise, setting your goals and setting your expectations realistically, and say, you know what, especially in my 50s, I was never going to be a figure competitor. I was never going to be a bodybuilder. But all I want to be able to do in my 50s is I want to be able to move. I want to be able to move relatively pain-free. All those years of rugby do add up. Sometimes my back, it feels like I played yesterday, even though I haven't played for a couple of years. Yeah. But you just want to move, man. You want to be fit. You want to feel better. That, I think, is the power of exercise. So I think when it comes down to exercise, it's having that realistic goal of like, hey, what makes me feel better? What gives me more energy, right? And we know that exercise regulates hormones in the body, regulates neurotransmitters. We know that exercise helps you feel better. So I look at exercise I look at it as a drug that I take, right? I want to be healthy. I want to be active. I want to have a great health span. I look at 30 to 40 minutes of daily exercise is the minimum of what I need to do to be able to have a long-term life. So really, it's setting those expectations realistically and saying, hey, my goal is to be fit. My goal is to be healthy. I'm not worried about what the scale says or what the mirror says to some degree, but I just really want to just be active and have the ability. I want to be able to go hiking with my kids. I want to be able to go to the beach with them. I want to be able to have that's why I wanted to film out here, is because living in Southern California, I have all these options available to me. This is why we should be fit. We should be fit so we can go out there and do all this stuff. not so what we look like on our Instagram post. No offense to Instagram, but you know, I'd rather be able to do a 10-mile rock with a 20-pound weight in my back or a 25-pound weight in my backpack than do a half naked selfie on Instagram. That's the mindset, right?
Right. So I guess to that point too, like we always talk about, you know, how you should make fitness, make nutrition a lifestyle so it doesn't feel like a chore. What would be your best advice into helping people that are maybe struggling with that? Because I think a lot of people do look at exercise like that they schedule it, put it on their calendar, which is good. You know, I have to schedule an appointment at the gym. I have to make sure that I get this in. But really, I guess maybe if we change our mindset into turning it into a lifestyle, then maybe it'll be a little easier for people to kind of follow along with that and be fit for life.
Well, I mean, my advice, I don't know if I recommend this for everybody, is move to Southern California where you can be outside 12 months, or Arizona, or Texas, or New Mexico, or Florida, or Alabama, but if you look at one of the Sunshine States, and I mean that sincerely, because a large part of that too is being active just means being active. And I think for some of us, we get so into this concept that we need to exercise at the gym that we feel like if we weren't at the gym, then a workout didn't happen. When nothing could be further from the truth. One of the best things that you could do for your body and for your mind is just go out for a 30-minute walk. I mean, that really is. Those are some of my favorite workouts. It's like, you know, I love kettlebells, I love barbells, I love TRX, I love pushing myself to the point of discomfort. But I have to be honest, man, some of my favorite workouts are just a nice little 30-minute stroll where I'm listening to a good podcast and I'm just kind of like out in the fresh air and enjoying the sunshine.
Yeah, and I guess that brings us back to what we're talking about at the beginning, you know, kind of relieving some of those stresses that we have in our lives so that we can be healthier and so that we can recover from the day-to-day grind, I guess. One thing that I'm interested in here is, so we're looking at all three of your books, Smarter Workouts, Ageless Intensity, Smarter Recovery. I don't know if you planned this, but for everyone listening, if you haven't got copies of those yet, go out and get them, because it really does combine everything that you need all together. I mean, was that kind of a plan going into it, or did that just kind of happen organically
Honestly, it's been kind of a plan that I've put together for the last couple of years. Is once Smarter Workouts started coming together, I've always been interested in the subject of how exercise can mitigate the effects of aging. And then two, once CrossFit started becoming really popular, I did my first talk on recovery in 2011. I did Recovery, the Forgotten Variable, at the Idea Personal Trainer Conference that year, because I was noticing that everybody was programming high intensity, but they weren't doing anything for recovery. So from about 2013 or 2014 on, I was writing articles for the American Council on Exercise. I was writing for Idea. I was writing for 24-Hour Fitness, and I started writing all the articles I wanted to write that I knew would go into these three books. So yeah, I planned these books. I did plan these books out over the course of about 5 to 7 years. And so that way I was kind of collecting the information, collecting resources, because you're right. I mean, we got to learn how to exercise, and that's what Smarter Workouts tries to do. It tries to teach you how to exercise for how your body moves. We know that, I mean, look, like I said, I'm 51. Most people my age, I don't want to say most people, but a lot of people my age in their 40s and 50s we grew up exercising. We grew up in the 80s. You know, most guys my age started working out because of Schwarzenegger and Jean-Claude Van Damme. Seriously, we want to look like those guys. And now that we're all in our 40s and 50s, we don't want to slow down, man. There's a 24-hour fitness I go to not far from here. I go there in the mornings. Even though I work for a competitor, I still have a 24-hour membership. Easier to get in and out when you don't work in there. Right. But I joke and I call it it's the Silver Fox and Cougar Power Hour. It's all people my age. It's all people in their late 40s to probably early 60s train their butts off. What's up, Mark? Good to see you in Vegas, man. It's fun to see names pop up here. Yeah. But that's what I look at and that's why I wrote the books is Smarter teaches you how to work out. Ageless teaches you how exercise can control the aging process. And then Smarter Recovery is like, hey, here's what we should be doing after we get done working out. And here's the thing, the recovery practices aren't just for exercise. You get a tough go of it at work, you get a busy part of your life, meditate, do some extra foam rolling, go sit in an infrared sauna. These things that are in here not only work for working out, but they work when life gets hectic and you need to kind of down-regulate a little bit and get control back of your life.
All great points there. While you're talking, I was thinking about the idea that, you know, some people grow up working out and kind of make that their lifestyle throughout. I'm sure you've had clients where maybe they are in their, you know, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and they probably say, I wish I had started doing this sooner. I think a good point, and hopefully you can speak to this, is that it's not too late, but the sooner you get started, and again, ageless intensity, the sooner you get started, the easier it's going to be able to live that healthy lifestyle.
Well, it's actually interesting. Dr. Schoenfeld, Brad Schoenfeld, just posted something this morning on his Instagram about research on people in their 70s and 80s, and how and the study that Dr. Schoenfeld referred to was on how people in their 80s can add lean muscle mass. And I see Mark's question here is, what 3 things should the 45 plus group focus on? And here's, if you're over the age of 45, lift weights 2 to 4 times a week. I mean, adding muscle is the best thing that we can do for the aging process, because muscle is metabolically active. Mobility, keep the joints moving, and get better sleep. I mean, strength training, mobility, and sleep are the 3 key things that I think anybody any age, but especially once we get over the age of 45, I mean, that really, I have to tell you, man, and I hate to tell it, for people out there on this, it's the 5 birthdays that give me. The 0 birthdays didn't give me. Turning 50 isn't a big deal. Turning 45 was a bigger deal, because at 35 and at 45, that's when I felt, I did feel my body differently. And that's when I did have to, like, after the age of 45, I can only do maybe 3 hard workouts a week. If I'm, you know, maybe a 4th one if I'm getting really good recovery and nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
But after the age of 45, I've really just like, all right, three is the outer limit of the hard workouts. Doesn't mean I don't work out. It just means I only push myself to being sore and out of breath maybe 2 or 3 days a week. And that's because I understand and respect the science and try to apply the science for that.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's good, keeping everything in perspective too. In terms of where you're at now compared to where you used to be. I know a lot of people maybe in their 50s, 60s that were outstanding athletes when they were in high school or maybe even college. In their head, they think that they're still there when their bodies can't necessarily do those same things.
Well, it's like I was saying with rugby, man. In my head, I was telling myself that I was going to be playing some tournaments in my 50s, but now the way my body feels, I'm going, do I really want somebody to run into me at full speed right now? Even though they'd be in their 50s themselves. I mean, another 50-year-old guy running full speed. Thanks, Mark. But another 50-year-old guy running full speed into you is another 50-year-old running full speed into you. So, but that's really that. But that's the mindset that I think you keep is. That's the mindset you try to keep is you really try to keep. I know I do. I really try to keep that mindset that I'm literally 8 weeks away from being fit for a rugby tournament. And I know there are people out there that maybe do jiu-jitsu, maybe you do martial arts, maybe you play tennis, whatever it is your thing. Think about it that way: is be fit so you can enjoy your thing. If it's golf, be fit so you can enjoy golf. If it's mountain biking, I've started playing pickleball. I'm joining that craze, and frankly, I'm loving pickleball because you get to be outside and doing something athletic. So whatever your thing is, make sure you be in shape to do your thing so you can enjoy it to the best of your ability.
Outstanding advice there. I think for everyone watching, for everyone that's going to end up watching this later, take Pete's advice. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's talking about. He's lived it. This has been a great conversation. I know you're busy. I know you have some other appointments that you need to get to, but I really do appreciate your time and taking a little bit of time to talk to us about this today. Again, everyone listening, if you haven't got your copies, get them now. Again, the newest one, Smarter Recovery. We have Ageless Intensity. We have the first one of the series, Smarter Workouts here. Again, Smarter Recovery goes into, you know, some of the science behind recovery. You're going to get strategies from, you know, the percussion gun, foam rolling, stretching, workout ideas, sleep, fueling your body, some of the things you just mentioned there, a little bit of everything pertaining to recovery. You can find all those on our website, us.humankinetics.com. They're on Amazon. You know, do a search. You're going to find these books out there and available. And if you are a trainer or a coach, there are CE exams available for these. I know it's a recertification year for a lot of people. So that is another opportunity. I'm not accusing anyone of procrastinating, but it's almost the end of the year, and I know I know some of you might be looking for last-minute CEUs. So here's another opportunity there. So again, thank you so much for your time. I really did enjoy this. I'll let you have the last word, and maybe make sure everyone knows where they can follow you to follow along with all the great things you're doing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And it's interesting. In my corporate job, I don't post as much day-to-day stuff on fitness, but they can follow me on Pete McCall Fitness, because I'm putting together a plan for 2024 to be a little more interactive and to get my YouTube channel going again. I have the All About Fitness. I did the All About Fitness podcast for a while, and I put that on hold, but I'm looking at getting the YouTube channel cranking up again in early 2024. So
Very cool.
All About Fitness on YouTube. There'll be some good information on there. But really just follow me on here. And the way I look at it is be active every day. And what I've learned, and here's the secret to getting a little bit older, go to bed a little bit earlier. I got rid of my TV, and I try to go to bed. I literally, getting that extra half hour, 45 minutes of sleep a night, that really makes all the difference. And that has been probably my go-to recovery thing. And Viva Brazil! Always love seeing Brazil. So anyway, thanks guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for having this and hosting this, man. I really appreciate it.